Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Carpenter, and I'm representing Drug-Free Lumpkin 365 in the Atlanta area. And we are excited to have a podcast with a partner of ours that if I had to put all of our partners together, I would say that she is our main partner. But we know that to make a difference in drug prevention, we have to work with a lot of different people in the community. So we're very excited to have Brigette Barker here. Before we go to her, I want to be sure that you know that there's two of us working with Drug-Free Lumpkin 365, and it is Brian DiNapoli. And Brian is going to take over now and tell you a little bit more about himself and Drug-Free Lumpkin.
Thank you, Mike, and hello, everyone. My name is Brigette Barker. I'm a native of Georgian, glad to be here. And I'm a person that had an issue with alcohol in my teens and my 20s. So this is a real passion for me to finally be able to work in this field. I've always volunteered in this. So looking forward to it. We've had 3 previous podcasts and looking forward to an excellent guest today. And I can't say enough great things about our guest and the co-host. So Mike, I'll turn it back to you to begin the questions.
Okay, and again, we are representing, if you want to go on our website, it's drugfreelumpkin.org. And I'm very excited to introduce a person that I highly respect for the feedback that she's given us so far and for her active involvement in not only with Drug-Free Lumpkin 365, but the entire community. So I want to introduce you to, again, Brigette Barker, and she represents one, we call them sectors. There's 12 sectors that we're trying to always include. And she actually works with the 12 sectors in the community already. And Brigette is in a organization called Family Connection. And Brigette, as you introduce yourself, we'd like for you to tell us about your family. And then I'll probably ask another question after you tell us a little bit about, so we get to know what is your passion. And I know what your passion is because it shows, but tell the group what your passion is and a little bit about your family and what you are doing.
Great, thank you so much. Again, Brigette Barker. I'm currently the director of Lumpkin County Family Connection and have a passion for helping others, especially in our local community here where I did grow up. My office is actually where I ate lunch. This used to be a cafeteria when I was in high school, so everything's kind of came full circle and love sewing back into somewhere that's so near and dear to my heart. I do have a husband and 2 boys, a 14-year-old who is going to high school next year. So obviously, a lot of the things we're talking about, I'm looking for ways to educate myself and ways to have conversations with him to keep him safe and then and making good decisions. And then I also have a 6-year-old Tavish who is in the 1st grade at Cottrell Elementary here in Lumpkin County. But yeah, I do have a history of working as a drug and alcohol counselor. I worked at a residential treatment facility with juveniles, but also worked as a felony criminal drug treatment court therapist as well. So I have some experience on the treatment side of things and doing some 12-step type programs with participants and working with those drug courts and adolescents. And it's a hard place to work, but very rewarding. There's a lot of steps forward and a lot of steps back. It's a hard subject and to approach really for anyone. So prevention is definitely the easier way to go.
And want you to tell them about, I'm impressed with Family Connection. I've always been impressed with it. That is a organization, as I understand it, that's different in each state. And in our state, it's called Family Connection. Could you describe to people like who makes up who comes to your meetings? Brigette has monthly meetings at least and brings together people again from all the different sectors in the community. Could you tell them about what sectors are involved in the community? And then how did Family Connection come about? And why are they so impressive in especially the smaller communities they're very impressive. In the large communities, not so, because they've got so many things going on. Your input?
Yeah, and I think Georgia's actually one of the few states that has a statewide family support network similar to Family Connection. So we have a presence in every county in the state of Georgia, but we look like we need to look in that county with the help of data consultants, strategic planning, annual data reviews, and lots of support and collaboration in our community to find what those resource gaps are and those needs. So we say you've seen one Family Connection, you've seen one Family Connection. In Lumpkin County, we are a nonprofit and we are located in the school system, and we work to support families and to prevent child abuse and neglect. We do that through a myriad of services. Our largest one is our Student Outreach Center at the middle school, and that has a Backpack Buddies program, a clothing closet, school supply closet, just all hygiene items closet for that. But we're also doing weekly parent groups and support groups and nutrition lessons, and really engaging families that show signs of being fragile or vulnerable. And then we also have a program in the elementary schools, our family advocacy program, was where we're working closely with families, doing strength building, individual parenting. And a lot of our families who are going through difficult life transitions or just life transitions in general, we work with several families transitioning from family drug court, transitioning out. It's just a nice way to support them as they transition out of that program. So just very proud of our program. And one example, we did about $20,000 of emergency aid last year. About 60,000 pounds of food was provided to children. So we're reaching a lot of families here in Lumpkin County. I'm very proud of the hard work my staff have done to do that.
And where do you get your funding from typically?
The hodgepodge of fundraising, federal grants, state grants. Family Connection does get some state funding. But we have some, we try to diversify our funding to stay strong.
So we know a lot about drug-free communities. That comes through really the CDC is the one that you write the proposal to. And I've always thought about Drug-Free Lumpkin as a place that this grant that we have is called a PIP grant, and we're working typically with alcohol and tobacco. But of course, we can involve other drugs too. I guess I got a couple questions on that. One is, in the community, since you've lived there forever, what do you see the major drugs to be? And again, I guess we're focusing on youth, but we're focusing on more than that really, because they're in families. But what do you see from your experience?
I think definitely what we see here more at the school side of things anyways is definitely vaping and tobacco. That seems to be a big issue, definitely more at the middle and high school. With our adult population, I think we see some more serious issues, probably more, pills and higher level substance abuse of methamphetamines and things of that nature. But I think at the school level, that vaping was a huge concern when it first started, but I think we had a unified group, and the project we were working on, I think it made us all kind of come together and make some quick decisions, and our system and our community had a very strong response to that. And from talking to some parents who've recently moved their children from other counties and hearing some of the concerns they're having there and how they didn't have such of the strong response that we did, and how that problem is just increasing where ours is decreasing. So proud of our community for taking a quick stance on that. I think having an organized group of people kind of working on that helped do that and look at other communities, what they were doing. But yes, I think it's still an issue, but I think that we're, getting the word out that it's not a good decision.
So one last question, I want Brian to step in after this, is the Drug-Free Communities Grant is for 10 years. And when it's written, the community actually writes the grant because they're the ones that know the strengths and weaknesses of what's going on. And they're identifying strategies that are going on in that. Do you see that Lumpkin County is an appropriate place to write a grant to do that? Or do you think they're not at an appropriate place because y'all are doing so many things?
I think that as far as coming together and working together, collaborating together, our community is very good at doing that. I think that you have to have the right partners in the room. I think we could be successful in that. Currently, as you kind of heard my spill of work, I'm not as involved on that side of things as I used to be when I worked in some of my other positions. But I think, that we could definitely know that there's an issue, and we definitely have people in the community that are concerned and that are good at working together. So it sounds like we have the factors in place to do well with that.
Thank you. Brian?
Thank you for what you do, Bridget. I know you wear a lot of hats and you juggle a lot of balls in the air. So what strategies do you think help reduce vaping? And another question, you mentioned you were a drug counselor. What are some key success stories you can share about that?
Yeah, definitely. We'll start with the success stories. I actually have some clients that I worked with that I see as parents that my kids are growing up with now, that I see them at the ball field, at the sports field, being successful, being drug-free after making, having some really bad decisions and really struggling with dependency issues. And to see them successful, it lets you know that intervention can work when you want it to work, and that the families can be strong. And that one particular family has 3 boys now, and they're doing so well. So I think just those individual success stories help, it's worth putting that work in and working hard with them. Several adolescents as well that I keep up with here and there, and seeing them going off to college and starting to get married and living their lives and getting back on track. I think that's kind of what a lot of that is about, and very important to do. And then your other question, I'm sorry, what was that? The first one?
About vaping, how do we prevent vaping?
Prevention. I think, sadly, I think the parents are a big piece. I have lots of open conversations, but I sign up for your text campaign. It gives lots of great tips to have conversations with your kids to talk about, your opinions on that and why it's not safe. But we have a lot of kids who do get in trouble with that, and their parents are making those same decisions. And a lot of times those vapes are coming from some of the parents. So I think a lot of people are not maybe educated on some of the dangers. We've done a good job of starting to reach the kids, but I think maybe the parents are the missing link. And it's just very hard to engage parents sometimes when you're especially wanting to talk to them about something they may not necessarily want to quit.
Well, thank you, Bridget. Before turning it back to you, Mike, I wanted to mention, you mentioned the text back campaign, Bridget. I have the card in front of us. If you text the word listen, LISTEN, to 85775, that's the Drug-Free Lumpkin text back campaign. And you'll receive messages mainly for parents, but also for teenagers, some really good tips on preventing substance use. So thank you for your insight, Bridget. I'll turn it back to you, Mike.
Highly recommend that.
Thank you. Again, I think you keyed on the major point that people are missing, and that is the parents. So I'm surprised that in programs such as the American Lung Association and some of the other groups, they have great programs, but I don't see that they pulled in the parents in that program. So, and this is where, as a group, the Drug-Free Lumpkin, what we're trying to do is to look at the community, let people that live in the community tell us what is needed, and maybe we have to create that in some way, that we do pull the parents in. And as you and I know, we tried a town hall meeting, and if it's not at the right time, at the right place, when something else is probably going on and it be part of that, we need to bring the parents in to educate them. I'm very concerned with the marijuana situation with vaping, because there is psychotic behavior that's pulled into that, and that sometimes does not change when they stop using. And the reason why that's happening, because the brains are so young that are using. Bridget, do you see, again, you're in the school, really, even though you're in the community too. Do you see that the vaping is coming down in as far as users? Is it moving down more to middle ages? And do you think we should start any prevention activities in the elementary grades?
My heart wants to say no, but I'm not, I haven't really seen the numbers on the elementary type stuff, but I know here at the end of the school year, we have seen a spike where we did not have many vaping situations throughout the year. We have seen a spike here at the end. And they came together and it like really cut down and had some loss of breaks and things across the entire grade level so that they could say, look, you know, a few of you guys are ruining it for everyone. This is not acceptable behavior. And it was very eye-opening to me because, as you mentioned, some of those vapes that were found here recently were marijuana type vapes. And, you know, having conversations with my son, he was just like, I cannot believe somebody would bring that to school on campus. And you hear the athletes talk about it and they are getting very educated and the kids are talking to each other and saying, he would never do that. He does this sport and that sport and he wants to be healthy and he wants his lungs to be strong. So I do feel, you know, in those certain groups that are athletes, that we've done a great job of kind of educating them of the harmful effects. And I just hope that continues to trickle across. And I just don't know how to engage the parents, like you said. I think that was a good point. And I just, you know, unless even with the drug court gig that I did, it was kind of, you know, they were court ordered to be there. And a lot of times it was fake it till you make it. And when you start working the program, you start seeing the benefits, then you're going, you know, to start working that program. So it's really hard sometimes to engage someone who's maybe doesn't want to stop what they're doing. So I think that's a very hard question for us to kind of dive into and start to maybe have some conversations with people who have quit and what was their motivator.
Hey, Brian, she brought up athletics. You'll make a comment on that?
That's right, Bridget. I was going to ask you that question. I assume you may have been an athlete yourself or a student athlete, and your son being a student athlete. Do you think they make great advocates to help prevent drug and alcohol abuse?
Absolutely. I think that's one group that, you know, really understands and worries about what the harmful effects are. And they have a very positive culture within the groups that he's a part of not, you know, not finding that acceptable, looking down upon that. So I
And
think
what sports does your son play?
football and wrestling.
I do
And
have another question, Mike. You mentioned methamphetamine. It seems like our eye is off the ball with so much emphasis on fentanyl, which is horrible. But meth, you read from what you read, it's making a comeback, and I remember talking to a counselor at one point. She said she'd never seen a drug break the bond of mother and child more than meth. So are you seeing more meth now? And what are your thoughts on that and how to combat it?
I think that's always been an underlying issue in our community. The fentanyl and heroin and things like that are making their way here. They're coming up that 400 corridor. And they're starting to trickle in, but it's not quite made it here as bad as some of the more southern counties from us. But we see the problem trickling that way, definitely. But I would agree, you know, some of the cases we see with DFACs of where that, just that, like you said, that bond is broken. You know, you look at removals. At one point a few years ago, I was looking at removals that were substantiated cases of abuse and neglect, and majority of them for us were related to substance abuse removals. And I haven't looked at that data in the past couple of years, but that, you know, and when I said, okay, well, talk to me a little bit more about this to our DFAC staff, they said lots of pills, lots of methamphetamine in the adult population. Again, I don't see that in the schools as much in our younger generation, but I think that's something that sadly we had a rise of that probably about maybe 20 years ago. And a lot of those people just haven't been able to break free of the chains of that addiction.
I guess one of the last questions I have is, or I guess comment too, is with, again, the prevention area, how early do you educate kids? You educate kids in the elementary school about vaping and that type of thing. But then you brought up the meth. We don't really talk about meth. We haven't seen a lot of data on meth. I know that Brigette used to work with the sheriff very closely with him, and that you do have a good feel for things going on. And I think the movement into marijuana and vaping is something that we don't see, because that goes directly to the courts if they're involved in the schools.
Mhm.
And we're trying to work more, again, with the schools too. I guess the last thing I'd like to ask you to share with the group is, I've always been impressed when you have meetings, you have a lot of people there. Maybe an average of 50 or more people there, and they're representing everyone. Could you give a feel for the types of people that are coming to Family Connection to tell people who you get there? Because it's impressive.
We usually have representatives from the faith community, numerous local nonprofits. We usually have the mayor in attendance when she can join us. We have someone from the city council joining us next week. The past couple meetings we've had the police chief from the University of North Georgia joining us, civic groups, volunteers, some businesses, so the different medical groups, one of the hospitals. So a good mix of all the sectors in the community is what we aim for. And we just really try to make those meetings beneficial, and where we all come together and can learn about what the work each other are doing, and stay connected to new things at the state level, because that's only going to make each of us stronger and therefore our community stronger. So I think that we've teamed up with Community Helping Place to kind of plan those meetings this year, and they're helping provide lunch, which is always popular. But I think people are seeing the benefit of attending and being connected, and it really helps
Educated for
make
sure.
collaboration easier.
Brian?
No, just thank you for being a force multiplier for good, Brigette, and all that you do. And it sounds like you're in your dream job, but if you had another dream job, what would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one. Probably be working at a vacation resort.
Yes.
I could be at the beach all the time.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. I know
I've
that
always said,
everybody
I have actually always said I'd enjoy working at the visitor center here, because I love this community so much, and just helping people know where to go and have wonderful experiences too. So just enjoy our community.
Again, thank you for being part of our Drug-Free Lumpkin.
Yep.
And we like it that we grow with it, and it takes a long time to really know the community and to see the community, but with people that are living there like you, it's been great. Brian?
Just thank you again, Brigette and Mike. Brigette, you kept mentioning the word connection. And of course, we know the opposite of addiction is connection. So thank you again for what you do. And this podcast is on our YouTube channel under Drug-Free Lumpkin. So please join that. Please follow that. It will be posted very soon. Also, the text back campaign, again, text the word listen to 85775. We appreciate it. And Mike, you can close this out if you'd like.
Okay. Our website is drugfreelumpkin.org. And yes, we're only going to be as good as the people that are in the community that are working together collaboratively, because it does take a village to get things done. So, and I usually call the village a team. Thank you very much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be following it up with some other people from the work group that works with Drug-Free Lumpkin 365. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.